Maybe he'll shut down at UNC.
It's looking great. I've got a gate up here to shoot my dogs. Whatever the best.
Yeah, the design for the Brett way back in the old, when everybody was a market board, I worked on Brett oh yeah, I mean, I think I might have been the only person who didn't live down there. Yeah. There's some good people there. I enjoyed that.
I was and I had the mom there in Jacksonville Yeah. It must have been a while back. Every spring. That was good. He came home for the Seafood Festival. But he had a serious injury.
I'm trying to. I've turned a bunch of stuff down.
I got an emergency call.
Really focused on getting stuff down. I was not prepared.
Parkinson's and that's like a
Okay. Was that mom? That's pretty.
It's like a fashion.
That's going to take a lot of work. Wow.
Yeah, but like 40 some stitches and he's a police he loving it.
But
or videos. Because you can tell everybody that didn't happen.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the October 1st meeting of our Board of Education. And I first would like to call Mr. Clay Michaels to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by Ms. Catherine Chadwick, who is going to lead us in the invocation. Everybody please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job, Beaufort Middle in the house.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Let us pray. Dear Lord, as we gather tonight at this meeting, we ask that you will be with us. Help us make decisions that will be pleasing to you. Help us to be able to discuss the matters at hand in a reasonable way. God, let this meeting be productive and help us to keep you at the forefront of our decision making. Let the work done here tonight be for your glory. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Catherine. You've had a chance to review the meeting agenda. Do I have any input on the meeting agenda?
Chair, I'd like to move to amend the consent agenda to remove item 5.5, consider Pro Tem High School roof contract, and replace it with a new item 5.5, consider updated school advisory council appointments. I'd also like to amend item 7.2 to read, receive information and consider procedure regarding appointments to Carteret Community College Board of Trustees. And I would also like to amend item 8.1 to include a confidential student matter pursuant to General Statute 143-318.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to accept this amended agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Can I ask a question for you?
Yes, you may.
What is the plan for the Pro Tem roof?
We just haven't got the bids in yet.
Okay.
Just not quite.
Okay.
And if things go well, I hope we can get that information out to you in the next week or two, because we need to be moving on that.
So I'll second it. Is that what
Okay,
you're looking for?
thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, it's unanimous. So that passes. Next, we have public comment, and before we get into our public comment, I'll have our council please review the rules on public comment, and then we'll proceed.
Mr. Chairman, the rule on public comment is that while matters generally relating to public schools are appropriate, there are certain matters that are not. And those would be matters that deal with particular individual employees or particular individual students. And so if there are any, if there's any information that's given during public comment time that would identify a student or identify an employee, that would not be appropriate. At some point, depending on the nature of the matter, the board could consider such things in a closed session, but not in an open session.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that, I'd like to call Miss Katie, is it Katie Stacia? Okay.
Right, I'm Katie Statler.
Oh, it's an L, sorry.
Oh, you're good. All right. On day 14 of the 2018-2019 school year, a catastrophic hurricane hit the county. Last year, on day 147 of school, I watched our principal walk into her office holding EOG scores with tears in her eyes. The next day, we talked about the scores. No one was upset with teachers or students. The tears were over the fact that one test on one day didn't summarize the school year for Newport Elementary or for anyone in the county or the surrounding areas. It didn't describe our students that didn't know where they were going to sleep when their home was lost. It didn't describe the staff that called every student until they knew they were safe. That piece of paper didn't describe the principal I texted with at 1 a.m. to set up a supply drive. It didn't represent our superintendent that set up tables on 110 day in September to prepare for 800 families to come in and get free supplies. The number didn't describe our board members who were busy helping their community, and it didn't describe a communications director that I'm not sure has slept yet since the hurricane. That test defined one day, actually 3 hours of a day, behind the elementary school walls. Yet it's the first thing our state looks at to define our school year. It's the number one thing our state looked at to decide how hard our students, teachers, and staff worked last year. On September 4th of 2019, after 5 months of discussion, Senate Bill 621 was signed. While it impacts our upper schools in the 2021 school year, the elementary schools will still be waiting. On the elementary school level, this bill is going to require a pilot program, reviewing of that program, implementing the new practices into the school. I realize this bill increases your workload as well. Reporting to the Department of Public Instruction, the State Board of Education, and going over all of our standardized testing on the local level. My son in 60% of his test class tested proficient. While your first thought is great, my kid got a 96 on the BOG. For his class now to show growth, he pretty much needs to get 100 on the end of grade test. For his teacher to say he grew last year, for the state to say that teacher did her job, he now has to get 100 on the end of grade test. I'm here to ask that you support the implementation of this bill. Help ensure the use of benchmark testing in the elementary schools. We use it to reduce the pressure of an EOG test and not allow this final benchmark test to become what currently is the EOG test. Help support this as a change to our schools for our students, our administration, county, and state. Don't allow this bill to become a political move that's put into place just for re-elections on the state level. Instead, help ensure full implementation of Bill 621 so the goals of this bill become the reality behind our school doors.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is it Kara Munford?
Hi, good evening. I know I'm on a clock here, so I'm going to be as quick as possible. I'm short-started. Proverbs 31, 8 through 9. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. What brings me here this evening was an incident. I know I'm sure everybody's fully aware of it. The word, a word was used by a member of a sport at a high school here in Carteret County. I don't think people were surprised as much as the free use of it, social media. I mean, that's a whole new, I'm glad I wasn't coming up with social media. I mean, it's a whole new level, and kids have to be careful. Nigger. Definition of nigger by Merriam-Webster. The word now ranks as almost certainly the most offensive and inflammatory racial slur in the English language, a term expressive of hatred and bigotry. The word was included in Merriam-Webster dictionary in 1864, at which time it was defined as a synonym of a Negro. Now, when I called after seeing this post where that word was used, it was difficult to say. I'm sure it was difficult to hear. I spoke with someone at the school board, and the principal did return my call from East Carteret. She tried me 3 different times. I mean, she returned my call and she made sure to. And she said there was really nothing that she could do because it wasn't during school time. So that kind of perked my ears because I didn't understand. It was on the East Carteret website from what it appears. It may not have been. From what it appears, that's what it looks like. I don't want the child to be in trouble. I think he has got a world of trouble ahead of him. I don't think disciplinary action should be taken in that. For me, I don't need to know that. That's not we need to ask ourselves, why would a young man say that? Does he know what it means? And therefore, are we lacking in the education of our children? Teachers must face this every day in their classrooms. And I don't know, it's probably uncomfortable. And I don't know if they've been educated. I don't know if our school district has been through a tolerance or a inclusive training program. I don't know. There's nothing on the school board website. When I look it up, there's nothing that I see. I don't see the ratio of how many African Americans are in AP classes. I don't see the disparaging differences between black children suspended, white children suspended. I mean, I don't see any statistics. So I'm curious to know these things, and I think we should know these things. And I think the way to do it is education. The first way is to get some African American teachers. Easier said than done. I understand, completely understand. I've looked that up too. Not easy. I get it. There's just got to be a way. Get some African American people on the board. People need to see people that look like themselves, and it's not only going to help African American students, it's going to help other students as well. It's going to help white students, Mexican students, it's going to help everybody. But we've got to be more representative of what's going on. We're growing. They're building, I don't know, a 500 home development in Beaufort. That will be East Carteret. They're going to have their own Publix. I don't know how many homes it is, but my guess would be people aren't buying those homes that live in this area. So we have got to be ready. I think we need to ready ourselves. And I think it takes a community, parents, and the school. And I just feel that we could do more. Conceivably, a child can go from K through 12th grade and never see anybody. A minority child can be Hispanic, Latino, or African American. Any minority can never see anybody that looks like them. Albemarle School Board recently adopted in March, reporting requirements on disciplinary actions and racial disparities throughout the division, mandates anti-racism training for staff and a more transparent process for class recommendation, and creation of anti-racism curriculum. That was written, took 6 times, but the students, high school students, wrote that and brought it to the school board, and they finally did get it passed. So I don't know what we're doing. I do want to know what we're doing, and I would like to be a part of the step forward. And however I can rally troops and get it together. We cannot create a world where racism doesn't exist. I mean, that's not conceivable, but we can make it unacceptable in our schools. This is a safe place. And I want to say that I had a child at Croatan and may or may not have one now, not admitting to it. But this was, I mean, I can't say enough about Mr. Bottoms. They built three developments, maybe 4 developments around Croatan High School just so their students can go, and $6 generals, which I appreciate very much. Thank you. So I think you guys have a good leader, and I think we just need to get educated more so that we can educate the students. I don't think this child, and if I don't know him, don't know anything about him, I don't think he meant any harm. I don't think he knows. I honestly, God, don't think he knows. When my son was his age and said it with his friends, I didn't like it. I mean, it's done. It's done both ways, and it's not right either way. This is only my opinion, and that's it.
You can see the timer, but it's expired.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Tommy. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Montford.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, we're going to move to our consent agenda, which includes considering personnel matters, considering fundraiser requests. We're going to consider student transfers, consider custodial service contract, and we're going to consider, well, the revised item 5.5, which is to consider updated school advisory council appointments. Those should have been able to be reviewed by the board already. Do I have a motion or any discussion about the consent agenda? Whether to accept the consent agenda as presented or to or otherwise. Motion to do something about our consent agenda.
So moved.
Oh, second.
Thank you, Ms. Ehlers.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor for approving the amended consent agenda as presented, please raise your right hand. Okay, thank you, that's unanimous. Next on our item, we are going to receive an update on the Life Skills Program. This is presented by Dr. Sue Kreiser.
Good evening. It's great to be here tonight. It's my pleasure and honor to talk to you tonight about an awesome opportunity for our community to make some changes with regard to the use of drugs, alcohol, and other illicit drugs. I sure hope that you had a chance to take a look at the information that was shared with you a while back. I know it's been a while. My intent today is to provide just a brief overview and then to allow you all to ask any questions that you might have with regard to the implementation this year of the BOTVN Life Skills Training Program. Before we begin, though, I'd like to let you know that in reflection of getting to this point where we are implementing this program, it's pretty awesome. It's really awesome. We are so fortunate, and I'm hearing from other counties wondering what we've done to create this strong partnership, a strong partnership between Carteret County Public Schools with the commissioners and shared with our local law enforcement. That's how we got here. And I think that's pretty awesome, and I think that it's going to open some doors for some growth in positive areas for us. BOTVN Life Skills Training is an evidence-based drug education program. It's designed to address key risk and protective factors associated with the initiation as well as the escalation of the use of alcohol, tobacco, and other illicit drugs. It's a little bit different than a traditional drug education program. First of all, evidence-based makes it a little bit different. We know that if it used with fidelity, this is going to make a difference in our community. It's also based on a few premise areas, including general social skills. So our teachers are going to be actually teaching social skills at an age-appropriate level. They're going to be teaching personal self-management skills and also drug resistance skills. So these skills over time will be taught beginning in 3rd grade. We are fortunate that Moorhead primary staff stepped forward and said, I know we're not supposed to be teaching, or we're not going to plan to teach BOTFIN in 3rd grade, but we'd like to. And so we are. They're going to pilot the 3rd grade program. All of our elementary schools will be teaching life skills training in 4th and 5th grade. All of our middle schools will be teaching the program in grades 6th through 8th. At the high school level, we'll be teaching in the 9th grade classes. And in addition to that, we had a request from our counselors at the high school level to ask if they could take the life skills training transition course and teach that to our juniors. And so that's going to be happening. That's the exciting piece in this beginning so early. The comprehensive language used that's age appropriate, the skills that are being taught. Again, if we're teaching this with fidelity, I think some great things are going to happen. At this point, I'm going to open it up for questions you might have.
I do have a question. I can't remember exactly. With the life skills, isn't there a parent part of this where you actually, it gives you questions and helps you communicate with your students once they're home and
Yes.
kind of bounce off different ideas and questions? I know my son asks 8 million questions a day. And so he's starting to ask a lot of questions, and I think it's great. But is that
Awesome.
part of the program, correct?
Yes, there's two layers to that. So we have invested in workbooks that look like this for each student. It's a pretty expensive endeavor, but I think worth it. So these should be coming home in book bags. And the goal is for parents to sit down and talk about what did that mean in class? What activities did you do? And then take it a step further. Oftentimes it's difficult for parents to really figure out how to talk about the parameters and their expectations of our own children. So this provides a wonderful opportunity. The other thing I should mention in the excitement of launching this, Beaufort Elementary has asked to pilot the parent program. So they actually will be meeting with groups of parents to discuss the curriculum that will be taught to their students.
What grade students are these workbooks going home with? Is this for all grades?
Yes,
as far
sir.
As the parents getting a hold of the workbook.
In 3rd grade at Moorhead Primary, parents will see the workbook. That's the only school that's teaching at 3rd grade. 4th through juniors, all of our schools will be teaching the respective units and using workbooks. So they'll look like this. They're different colors. And the theme throughout them is the same sort of theme that's taught at an age-appropriate level. And I should note that the teachers that will be teaching this are our healthful living teachers. And as you know, our Department of Public Instruction provides objectives that we are to teach. So we're going to be teaching to the same objectives, just using different materials.
And Dr. Kreiser, is this an opt-in or opt-out program?
No,
Is this being
no,
taught?
sir. So it is like any other curriculum. It's unlike the reproductive health unit in that the state does not require that. So all students will have the great opportunity to participate in this. I should also mention that we will no longer be teaching DARE. However, with the strong partnership we have with law enforcement, officers are invited to the classrooms and they can be a part of as much of the teaching as they'd like.
kind of more extensive replacement for that, correct?
Yes, very, very extensive. Uh-huh.
I cannot believe I'm going to ask about professional development, but how are we training our teachers to teach this?
It's a great question. We had 3 full days of training last spring. So at the end of April and the first part of May, we trained elementary, middle, and high school. And with the high school, our counselors joined that group as well. So it was a comprehensive training. For our new folks that joined us after April 1, we are providing online training with Bottvin Life Skills with the program. So they will get a different version of it, just an online training. So all of them have the appropriate support to teach it successfully.
And when we first looked at this, I'm trying to remember back, there wasn't as much information, I guess, on opioids, and then I think the question had also been asked about the new forms of tobacco, as far as the vaping and the so forth. Has that been worked into
Yes,
the
sir.
curriculum?
Yes, sir. Both of those topics are in the curriculum. They have provided some DVD modules for support for that. And the vaping piece is really a huge concern, not just in our community, but in our entire state. And we just saw some recent data that was published on the number of students who are vaping. Cigarette use has decreased, but the vaping has increased. And so we really need to spend some time on that topic, and will.
So how are you getting in the high schools? Like what class are they?
Health. Ninth grade health.
Ninth grade health.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And then that's a great question. And for our juniors, our high schools are getting creative with their scheduling. Sometimes there are opportunities that present themselves with scheduling to be able to get grade level groups together. And so it might be different at each of the schools, but I should mention that we've asked each administrative team to sit down with their teachers and their counselors to talk about their plan for implementation, the importance of teaching with fidelity, and address any questions or concerns they might have. All of our administrators will be observing at least one lesson in Bottvin Life Skills for their staff, and Mr. Bottoms and I are committed to observing those classrooms as well.
Other questions for Ms. Greiser? Dr. Greiser? Thank you very much.
Okay. You're welcome. Thank you.
Next, we will receive school performance grades, presented by Matt Bottoms, submitted by Allison Ranger. You going to be doing the talking, Allison?
I am going to be doing the talking.
And can we, when you get a chance, I know we have this paper copy. Can you send the?
I'll absolutely
That'd be
send that
awesome.
to you digitally. I apologize for not getting it
No worries. Thank you.
in that manner. So I get the privilege tonight to share with you about our 2018-2019 accountability results. Many of the parent advisory councils mentioned performance grades and meeting or exceeding growth. And so we wanted to just kind of give a summary of what that really means for Carteret County Public Schools. So what I have here, as you can see, is basically each year the state of North Carolina awards, I guess, schools with a school performance grade and a score. And this is how it is calculated. The school achievement score counts for 80%, and then the school growth score counts for 20%. So you see there's a big discrepancy there with what one day, one test, as Ms. Stoutler was talking about, the 80% versus the growth of that full year of instruction. However, with that, if you have an A, you are deemed, or with 85 to 100% as your score, you are deemed an A school, and then as it goes down from there, you can see those ranges. So what I felt that it was important is for everyone to really understand what makes up that 80% and what makes up that 20%. So if you'll focus with me right now on the 80% of the school performance status or score, it is the school achievement. And what that means, if you look here, you see the reading and the mathematics assessments, that's our end of course and our end of grade assessments. The science assessments, which would be 5th and 8th grade, EOG, and then biology for your high school, and then the English learner progress. And this is new to the accountability this year. This is how many students we have that enter as limited English speakers and how they do over a 3 to 4 year period. 2 of our schools, Newport Elementary School and Moorhead Elementary School, really surpassed growth in that particular area, which was a standout for our elementary schools. But with the high schools, they also bring in the 4-year cohort graduation rate, also the ACT and the Work Keys assessments, which are separate assessments, but they're put together for this calculation, and then the passing percentage of the North Carolina Math 3 course, which is what the state considers to be that final math course that students must earn to graduate. Notice here that also, I must say, in order for you to receive a score in these areas, your school has to have a total of 30 students. And because we do have some smaller schools, we don't have necessarily 30 students in particular subgroup areas. So if you see a score that's missing, that's probably the factor. So with all of these things combined, we are able to get certain scores. And I know this is kind of an overall picture, but I just wanted to show you from Atlantic all the way down to White Oak what we have here. And so you'll see, for example, Atlantic and Harkers Island don't have science scores. Again, they don't have 30 students in those grade levels. It's just a 5th grade. And then Moorhead Primary doesn't have a 5th grade, so they wouldn't have that score as well, where the other ones are filled in. And so if you look at our 3 high schools, you can see that our 4-year cohort graduation rate doing very good. We always want to make that be better, but we're doing really good across our district, well above the state. ACT Work Key scores, we continue to thrive in those. And then the passing of the North Carolina Math 3 course score for our high schools, we're doing well in those as well. So then, one of the one of the accountability results that we're going to have displayed for everybody to see as they enter our school building is the 2019 ACT results. Carteret County actually improved this year. We increased from 5th in the state to 3rd in the state overall with our traditional school systems, and that is a huge just reflection of all the hard work that goes in from kindergarten all the way through. It's not just our juniors that get the assessment. This is actually the results of their entire education experience within Carteret County Schools. So we improved our mean composite score. As you can see here is 20.9, and then it breaks off into the different areas: English, math, reading, science, and then our writing score. So that is a huge celebration for Carteret County Schools. What is not brought into accountability, but yet we wanted to celebrate it as well, is it is not a required assessment, but we also ranked 3rd across the state in our SAT scores. And so although this is not required, and you can see that we had 34.4% of our students tested, we were able to increase our total score of 1,177, which breaks it up into the English reading and writing combined of 593, and the math put together for a 584. And so we wanted to celebrate that. That is a slip from last year of we were 2nd, but we are very happy with 3rd. But again, I think it's a testament to our overall educational system that our ACT results were so high, which is required of all students.
And so for perspective, can you let us all know that's out of 100 and how many public schools? That's how many we have in the state?
It's about 110, 115 traditional high school systems.
And also what Allison is hitting on, the ACT actually measures the English, math, science, and social studies as opposed to the SAT.
Sure.
Just going to do. So that's the credit when you see all those teachers in that ACT that contribute to that child's education throughout their whole life. And that's why we celebrate this as an entire school system.
And this is also built into our accountability, so it really is very important for our performance. So we're super excited about that, and we will have it in the frames by the end of the week. So, any questions really about the school achievement scores? What constitutes those, that 80%? Okay, so this 20% is our growth, and you guys know me. I am passionate about the work that we do every single day. Yes, sir.
Real quick, it is based on the end of course grades for the respective grades. The achievement
Yes,
scores.
sir.
At the end
Yes.
of the
It's the EOC, EOGs. Yes, sir. And so with the growth, it takes where a student was and where they came in on day one and where they should be after a solid year of instruction. And what we know about that is truly the value added that we have into our students' education. And so we submit all this data to SAS, and SAS brings us with a growth index value. And again, I've said that the elementary and the middle indicators are reading, mathematics, and science, and then the high school are the reading and mathematics. And they give us a growth index for each of our schools, and that is exceeds growth, which means we have an index greater than or equal to 2, meets growth from -2 to 1.99, and then does not meet growth anything less than 2. But I'm happy to show you that Carteret County Schools is phenomenal. When we take that growth score, this is 4 years worth of data, and if you see right here where we have the 2019 and the status, if you look here, we have exceeds all, a bunch of blue, a bunch of meets, and we have two schools that did not meet, but we have already addressed those areas, and we are moving forward, and we are making progress.
And I hate to interrupt you.
You're
in
fine.
the middle and all, but I didn't know if you could also speak to one of the comments that one of our parent advisory council members mentioned earlier. I know the growth that SAS calculates is a really complex formula and it was mentioned, hey, my student scored already extremely high. It makes it harder to measure growth. Can you speak to that as far as how that works out?
I cannot give you the formula. However, what I can say is that specifically for a third grade student, they take their reading scores from kindergarten, first, and second, and they take those second scores, and then they take the BOG, that beginning of the grade, and they say, based upon the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of students that have done typically this trend, this is where this student is projected to be. And as long as that student reaches that score, then they've made growth. So basically a 0 is growth because it means they made that score with solid instruction. But what we know is in Carteret County, we don't have average teachers. We have well above average teachers. And so we see lots of growth with our students. So they make that score and exceed. And then it's year by year by year.
Right. And bottom line, I guess, it is still possible for us to show growth even when our students are scoring extremely high in a particular year. It's possible to still have growth for the next year.
Absolutely. It is. It is.
Allison, also, go back to the slide before this, and I know that over on the right-hand side was just a part of the beauty of it and not necessarily meant to be. But those blue bars and the yellow bars, they represent the 5, if we broke students into 5 different levels from the lowest to the highest, that's what the quintiles is what we call them. And so this was getting back a little bit to what Ms. Mofflin was talking about earlier with our minority students. And so we actually break this data down. This is all students, but we can break this down by males, females, black, Hispanic, white. We can break it down in many different ways and look at our kids. And what we want to see is the blue bar above the line, which means they're doing well. Even if they're a low achieving student or a high achieving student, we want them to grow. And so this is part of what we do as a school system. We study this, our principals intently study all of our student demographics, every one of these, English language learners, the whole work, to see, are those kids really getting a year's worth of instruction over a year's time? And so that is a huge passion. They'll all nod their heads because they're obsessed with this to make sure that every kid got a great education, not just the ones that are easy to teach or the ones who have special education, that someone else is going to help them with, but make sure every kid is making that line. So that graph right there is one of the ones we use the most. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm glad you brought that up because I've always been so impressed with the fact that we look at individual children and we're able to help supplement areas that they need. It's remarkable to me, talking to principals, that they'll pick out a group of 5 or 6 or 8 kids that really need specific help. It's just comforting knowing that's the kind of system that you're running. So.
And I think that's really powerful that some of the middle schools talked about their whatever it takes time, or whatever the students need, because that's really the philosophy. We're going to do whatever it takes to help each kid be successful. So again, we're not just looking at 1 year's worth of data. We really do analyze trends, and we try to make sure that we are always improving and always getting better. And as you can see here, as a school system, we've increased this number of schools that exceeded growth, and we've maintained the number of schools meeting growth. And I think that's really powerful. We're always aiming to get better, and we have consistently decreased the number of schools that did not meet growth. We've gone in 4 years from 5 to 2, and that is really powerful, looking at just a system versus the state's data. So what I've done here is I've put that exact same information in a pie chart, because as a pie chart really influences and shows the impact. If that one circle is every kid that tested all 3 areas of test, look at what that means. That means we have all those students in there, and all of our schools, 53% of our schools exceeded growth. That is phenomenal. 35% met growth, and 12% did not meet. And that is in comparison to the state. I mean, that gives me goosebumps. That's like, woo, yay. That is so exciting, because the state has 73%, but we have 88%. That is incredible. I love working for this school system. So when you take the school achievement, that 80%, and you take the student growth, that 20%, it comes all together, and it's like the drum roll, like what do we have? And this is what we've got. This is our accountability results for 2018, 2019. And so if you'll notice here, 3 of our schools received an A performance grade. 12 of our schools received a B, and then we have 2 schools that received a C. And that is a huge improvement from last year. Last year we had 1 school make an A. We had 9 schools that made a B, and we had 6 schools that were C's. We have done really well this year. And again, you can see the North Carolina state numbers. And so I took that and I put it together with the pie chart again to show the impact that we have. And that 17.6, 70.6, and 11.8 looks a whole lot better than what our state has. And we're 8%, 29 for B's, 41 for C's, 18 for D's, and 4 for F's. We don't have any D or F schools. We're doing a great job. And because of that, it gives us our little first place ranking across the state. And I think that's just gives us tons of reasons to celebrate. Do you guys have any questions?
Allison, when we look at those, where are our schools, where are our K-12 schools ranked when you look at this, as far as college career ready, for instance?
College and career ready, they're very high. I don't have that exact number. He knows 4th. It's 4th. He's already looked at it.
He just wanted to say
He just wanted me to say it. He knows it's 4th. So, and college and career ready means level 4s and 5s versus level 3s, 4s, and 5s. So it's just even. We're just awesome. So, do you guys have any questions from me? We don't have EVOS data in regards to growth for teachers, yet, and we wouldn't share that in regards to, a board meeting, but we would have conversations, and we will have conversations with principals and things like that, but that hasn't been released yet. No questions?
I'd just like to tell you, I think your positive attitude is infectious.
Oh.
I truly appreciate you, and but all of y'all, I reiterate this every time I'm in here, but what a positive experience for my kids, and I just want to say thank you. So.
Sure, our pleasure. Thank you very much.
Allison, thank you.
Today is also Allison's birthday.
Oh.
And she's
Happy birthday to you. That's wonderful.
Thank you very much, Allison.
Thank you.
All right, next we're going to receive policy revisions
Watch
for
this
first
excitement.
reading. Yeah.
Everybody beef up here. Come on, Blair. We don't need to steal your thunder.
You know, at one point, I'm going to come up here with all these fancy PowerPoints,
No, you're not.
You- pie charts. My phone. So before you, there's a number of policies. All these policies actually come from updates, as usual. A handful of the policies come from the fall 2018 update. Some of them come from the spring 2019 update as well. Again, these revisions really either clarify the previous content in the policy or reflect any changes in the law or in the policy. I didn't have a whole lot to tell you about. There's some significant changes, but one policy has a significant change just because the definition of an abused child is different for the policy. So you'll see lengthy changes, but it may just be for one particular thing. I did want to bring two policies to your attention. I try to bring anything that says anything about the board to your attention, but policy 2330 is board meeting agenda. The only change there was really to make it consistent with policy 2310, which really distinguishes between a vote necessary to amend a proposed meeting agenda, and then which requires a majority, but a vote needed to amend the adopted agenda is a 2/3 vote. So I didn't know that, so I brought that to your attention. So policy 3420 also is student accountability. The revision for here reflects the mandate by the State Board of Education for the school system to develop a local policy and procedure to address the implementation of credit recovery opportunities across the school system. This is for your high schools. And so we sat down with high school administrators and developed a procedure for credit recovery so that it would be consistent across the board. So that would be in the regulation that's attached to that policy. Those are the policies. There was another regulation which was 4705, 7825. That was just an additional notice requirement by the law that was required for that particular regulation. The regulations are not for board action, but we do bring them to your attention. And so if you have any questions about the rest of the policies, I'll be happy to attempt to answer them. I'm bringing a pie chart next time.
Any questions for Mr. Probst? Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Appreciate it.
Next, we will consider a resolution recognizing October as National Principals Month. And I'd like to read this before we consider and potentially vote on this. So, Carteret County Board of Education resolution recognizing the month of October 2019 as National Principals Month. Whereas the month of October 2019 is National Principals Month, and whereas the Carteret County Public School System is fortunate to have dedicated and devoted principals serving as educational leaders in our schools, and whereas principals are entrusted with our county's most valuable resource, young people, and whereas principals are educational visionaries, instructional leaders, assessment experts, disciplinarians, community builders, public relations experts, budget analysts, facility managers, special program administrators, and guardians of various legal, contractual, and policy mandates and initiatives. And whereas principals set the academic tone for their schools and work collaboratively with teacher and teacher leaders to develop and maintain high curriculum standards and set performance goals and objectives. And whereas principals create school environments that facilitate great teaching and learning and continuous school improvement. And whereas National Principal Month is a means to recognize principals for the leadership they provide, for providing high-quality learning opportunities for students, and for exemplary contributions to the educational profession. Therefore, be it resolved that the Carteret County Board of Education members honor and recognize the contribution of school principals to the success of students in this county and in this nation, and encourages the citizens of Carteret County to join with them in expressing appreciation to principals for ensuring that every child has access to a high-quality education. Adopted this first day of October 2019, assuming we adopt this. So, Do I have a motion on this resolution?
Mr. Chair, make a motion to adopt this resolution as read.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Motion passes. And the resolution passes. Thank you very much, principals, for everything you do. Y'all are awesome. Next, we're going to we're going to consider and receive information regarding the appointments to Carteret Community College Board of Trustees. There were a few changes that we decided to make to formalize our procedure for the appointment, and especially upon the resignation or death of an appointee, which we did have recently here. We had a chance to look over these in our work groups. Is there any discussion about the procedures for the appointment? There was some discussion, I know, in our work groups, and I believe some comments and some changes were made. These should be reflected on the copy we have now. So, any discussion on this? Further discussion?
Did we get our copy?
Was I the only one to get this?
There should be
Tabby?
in your board docs, and we
Oh.
emailed them to you as well.
It wasn't listed in the board docs.
We emailed
Tabby.
them to you
Yeah.
as well.
No, I got the original one in my email. Did it change since then?
There was the one section that regarded the geographic that was removed.
If you'd like
And
me to
otherwise, it's
make
exactly the
copies
same as
for-
original. I could read some of it if we need.
Okay.
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 If,
What changes?
Ooh, it's kind of long.
if you'd like me to make copies and you do your the
You have to
next
move on to the superintendent
agenda.
report and come back to that.
Yeah, that'll be fine. Let's do that. Okay, but before the superintendent, we have the facilities support operations update. Are you doing that one?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
All right. As far as facility goes, this month has been unfortunately spent with doing more hurricane repairs. Dorian kicked into our system for about $50,000 worth of damage. There was some electronic equipment, PA systems and all that were damaged. We did have down trees, water intrusion. We lost parts of press boxes and dugouts and those kind of things. And so in putting it in perspective from Florence, it was almost nothing, but it was $50,000, and insurance will, of course, be sought to reimburse us for those expenses. Also, maintenance in the past few weeks have been working on trying to finish up the painting projects that we have through a contractor at the preschool center and at West Carteret. They're not quite done. In fact, I think West Carteret's probably looking closer to Christmas before they actually finish completely. Preschool center, they're on the outside of that building, or should be at this time. The air conditioning systems at Newport Elementary and at White Oak, they have been ordered. Kenny, they may have been close to being installed by now.
Start on by end of the week.
Right. The one that we hear a lot about, obviously, is White Oak, Harker's Island's air conditioning system, and it's been ordered. It's a chiller, and it's still, last I heard, it was still in Mexico.
It's scheduled to be here next Tuesday, the 10th.
And so they've been working on window units since school started, and it's a struggle. But that's,
The chiller's it's coming from Mexico?
yes,
It's on vacation?
that's where they're made. So, and then the lead abatement at Newport Elementary, I think, is wrapped up completely at this point. Am I right, Kenny? Yeah. So, just a quick update on Hurricane Florence. We are working on, as one of the packet members said, we are working on the roof at Moorhead Middle. Before Dorian hit, that roof had been completely taken off, and they had just put on the adhesive paper, and it did hold, actually. It did not leak during the hurricane. They have since made repairs. They're still working on gutter repairs and the metal roof on there, so it will take another few weeks before Moorhead Middle is completely done. We were hoping to have to you tonight the roofing contract for Croatan, and I think that's just another week or two before we have that one completely in hand. And we will, that would finish up the damage part of Hurricane Florence. We're still working on mitigation things that we can do, gaps, pumps at maintenance, perhaps some generators in some of the schools, and they are not part of damage. It's just part of mitigations that we're trying to work with FEMA to see to help us not have as much damage next time. As far as my report, I know that Emily introduced Debbie Trogdon to you, and she was here tonight. I wanted to make sure you had met her. She is the East Carteret principal. We're glad to have her. She comes with a wealth of experience on the curriculum side, all high school curriculum. She's an expert in that area. She's been a coach at high school and collegiate level, and she's involved in arts. She's just well-rounded, and for East Carteret High School, we're certainly glad that she's there, and will bring a ton of advantages for that school. I do appreciate the advisory councils coming out tonight and sharing not only the time tonight, but they invest a lot of time in their schools all the time. I mean, it's just constant, and I do appreciate them spending some time with us. I do want to congratulate all of our students and staff and the parents, everyone, the boards, the commissioners that had a part in the success of what Allison pointed out in our test scores. It truly does take the whole village to make these things happen, and I appreciate what they've done and the celebrations that our principals have had in all their schools. And I know some of you have been dipping ice cream and blowing up balloons, whatever it takes. Y'all have been doing that to make sure our celebrations went off as they should have. I do also want to thank Sue and Allison and Blair for their presentations tonight, and certainly Clay Michaels for coming in and doing our pledge. And that is my report.
Thank you very much.
Let me mention, just for the parents in case we're watching on YouTube, Monday was going to be a holiday for Columbus Day and a teacher work day, but it is now Hurricane Makeup Day, so we will be in school on Monday.
To remind everybody of that.
And I assume we will send out the telephone call.
Sure.
System.
Yes, we will.
Your wife will tell you.
Great. And we want to circle back to the item 7.2. If y'all need to just peruse over that real quick.
Can you point out what was
Yes, point out
changed?
the changes.
Well, the part that was changed is not on here anymore, but it was the requirement of. There was one small requirement in there that we said, hey, we wanted a little bit more flexibility, I believe, in the way the appointments are made, and we don't have any that are specified for a particular geographic area, but.
And I apologize because I've been somewhat unplugged. So, what was the requirement that we?
So the whole thing is new, and yeah, you can speak to it. The whole procedure is something that we recently came up with. We didn't have a formal procedure for actually going through an appointment, like how long we advertised for and how long. Everything was we winged it and did things by habit. But we came up with a more formal procedure for when things are going to be posted in the papers, how long it's going to be posted for, and how we go, some of the qualifications, and the things that should be included in the letters of interest that people, so there are a whole bunch of rules that we
Right, and this is just for information. I thought
That
we
you
were
took
focusing
out, you
on-
saying, because I read those, you took those out?
No, all that's,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, those are in there.
What did you take out?
The one thing that was changed from, and this was discussed in a couple, at least our work group, I don't know if it was in all of the work groups. Okay, there was one portion that had to do with geographic restrictions, and I don't know if you could speak more to that, Matt.
Right, it was thought, did we need representation from the whole county? And the board in general thought, well, we can get there without having to have a mandate.
Yeah, where we did want to strive.
We didn't add it.
We did want to strive for that, but we didn't want it to be something that we were held to as far as geographic restrictions,
thank you.
like we had to have somebody from each area of the county. That was the only thing that was, that we kind of said, well, we'll strive for that, but that isn't something that we want to be held to in case a particular part of the county maybe didn't have good candidates. We'd hate for
Understand.
one
Yeah,
part of the county,
sure.
anyway.
Or any candidate.
Or any, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no candidates were. So that was the one part, otherwise it was exactly what you were emailing.
Just for information, we'll adopt this.
And actually, I think that we need to probably get on this, and we would like to go ahead and consider for this adoption tonight,
Right.
because it's been a while since.
Assess for information,
yeah.
but you want to vote.
Well, that was the amendment that Brittany made earlier, because Tabby indicated that this is something we probably
We
should
need
wait
to fill
another
a
month
seat.
on. What?
We need to fill the seat.
No, we're going to, yes, and so tonight, what we will, after assuming that this is approved, we will go ahead and we will then announce the letters of interest, that we will go ahead and start accepting letters of interest, and the letters of interest would be due by October 22nd, which is 3 weeks after our announcement. And I don't know, Tabby, if this actually counts our announcement, or we actually need to go ahead and do something additionally as well. Probably let's put something in the paper.
This can count as your announcement, and we will do the press release and get it out to everyone tomorrow morning.
And that press release will have all the requirements that we
Right,
have.
which is, if you approve this, that's at the bottom of page 2.
Okay. Yeah, so we would go ahead and we would accept letters of interest to be received by 5 p.m. on October 22nd. Just to, I'll just read this for just for information. The letters of interest must include the following: person's name, address and address of residence, their past, present connection with the Carteret County Public School System, the past and present connection with Carteret Community College, if there is one, the person's educational background, a person's occupation and career highlights, the reason the person is interested in the appointment, and the contributions that the person believes he can make as a trustee. Okay. The board, how many trustee seats does the Board of Education fill? Four.
One each year for 4
Okay.
years.
So, is there further discussion that we need to talk about on the this particular procedure that we're going to adopt, potentially adopt tonight and follow from here on out for appointments? Okay. If there isn't any more discussion, then I'll entertain a motion for adoption of this new procedure that we'll follow going forward for our appointments.
I will make a motion to adopt.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Thank you very much. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, and all of that's unanimous. Thank you very much. That motion does pass. This is the procedure we'll follow going forward. And Tabby, if you can, go ahead and let's get on that announcement. We'll make it official. Great, thank you. And then finally, on our agenda will be our comments from board members. So, Brittany, you want to start down at your end?
Thank you. Everything that I have written on my little piece of paper, everyone's kind of said tonight, but I would first like to start. There's so many things to be excited about, but as a school system, us being ranked #1 in the state out of all public school systems, 115, correct? That's phenomenal. That is phenomenal, and I think Allison's presentation showed the excitement that our teachers and our staff and our administration, and I think that's why we are where we are today. And it's phenomenal. When we got the email, I could not believe that. And I'm so thankful that my children get to attend these schools. I could not be more proud for them to be here. I also want to, I'd like to thank East Carteret for hosting Paper Cake. It was such a short amount of time ago that we were in those same positions, and you know, they are landmarks. I mean, there's no way for them to get out for teachers to take time out of their weekends and families, and especially Allison Struck and Mr. Morgan for bringing those families over and giving them just some normalcy for a weekend. That's truly amazing. I would also like to welcome Ms. Trotter to East Carteret High School, and I would like to congratulate Kent Pittman being named for the Carteret County Public School Community Teacher of the Year. Everyone that I've spoken with who has Mr. Pittman, they just rave about him, and I think he is a great addition to our school system. I'd also like to thank Dr. Kreiser for implementing the life skills, and I was actually at a presentation that she gave to the commissioners asking them to help support her, and she did a great job, and they jumped right on board, and I'm really, really thankful to have that program. And I also want to thank Mr. Kenny Peterson and their group. Even though this hurricane didn't seem as large or catastrophic as Hurricane Florence, you just fix everything miraculously, and it just seems so quick, and we're back to normal. I think we forget because we walk in, and he and his guys are behind the scenes, and they really just put it all together for us. Thank you.
Ditto to everything Brittany said, and I really do want to congratulate everyone that's associated with the school system. It's a joy and it's humbling to be a part of, a small part of. So thank you for what you do, especially all the principals. Congratulations on National Principal Month, and welcome, Ms. Trogdon. Really glad to have you. We're lucky to have you. So thank you. I also wanted to recognize the East Carteret families that receive the Overcoat families and students. It just goes to show you what type of people we have in this county. And I was lucky enough to see it in Emerald Isle after the tornadoes. We had dozens of our students that volunteer their time to come clean up from all over the county. And it just really makes you feel proud to be a part of Carteret County Public Schools. So thank you.
Which one?
Melissa.
All right. Again, I won't be repetitive, but we are so thrilled. I mean, short of doing a backflip, which I wouldn't put you through that. I mean, if anything, we should have given you a round of applause for that presentation, Allison. That was tremendous. I mean, really, over and above, I think anything we've ever achieved, ever, in this county with our scores when you think about the monumental task of the hurricane. So again, my appreciation to every single person, from the community members to the students and administration. Also to the principals. National Principals Month, I thought that in order to highlight how important it is that the principals are a jack of all trades and they need our support, I thought that I might challenge everybody to find the person that works for them. So the person that works for me will be you, and I'll be coming your way in a minute. But I would like everybody to pick out something spectacular about each person that is under their wing. So top down, it's going to go from, if you'll take the challenge, and not tonight, but in your own way to encourage them, or else we'll have a kumbaya session here and we'll be here all night. But I think it's really important that we recognize that we're not here with the scores. We have exceptionally intelligent children, but they're across the entire state. So what is making us so exceptional in our actual scores? I think it's the connection that we have. It's the fact that we reach out to every student, every principal. I said this before, as soon as we got our scores, kudos to Matt, because Matt has put the right people in the right places. And from you putting people in the right places, it trickled down to the principals overseeing the right teachers and administrators, and then those teachers reaching out to their students and finding something good at what each student is about. So that's my challenge tonight. And I really want that, because when you think back, or you talk to anyone, nobody ever tells you that there was a teacher that discouraged them. It was always, I'm here because a teacher encouraged me. So one thing for everyone, so every child, even if it's a child that's not academically connected, if they walk into the classroom and they're kind, they open a door, I'm challenging the teacher in the classroom to encourage that child to continue using that kindness to make a better world. So my thing is your work ethic. I told you this before, if you hadn't been out in that storm, risking, which was not an example to everybody, but you risked life and limb and went out to ensure that people were cared for. You were behind the mold remediation that put us head and shoulders above anything that we could ever have done to get back into school. Just year after year, everything that you do, it's your work ethic. So that's the thing that I want to thank you and encourage you to continue doing and be an example. And then I know I've left you with a tough challenge, because you've got to turn to your assistants and find maybe one thing good to bring up with I'm going to let you have that later in a private moment. It may take some time to think about it. But yeah, and so forth. So let's see if we can keep this going. I know it happens naturally, but again, I think that's the reason we're here. So that's my challenge. Thank you. And thank you for what you do.
I think simply stated, what Melissa is saying is that we have an incredible village. I mean, we all relatively get along well together and take care of each other and look after each other. 2 weeks ago, we had a race in downtown Morehead City. It was it benefited Carteret Warriors for Recovery, but it was put together by a young lady named Sydney Urer from West Carteret. There was nothing in it for her, but she took the time and the energy to put this race together to raise money for people who are still suffering from Florence. That's the kind of community y'all have created. You know, we sit up here and listen to the great things y'all have done. I mean, it trickles down. What y'all do, what Matt does, it trickles down to people like Sydney Ure. She's a junior in high school. When I was a junior in high school, I would have never considered anything like that. But I didn't have the leaders like y'all. So that's what we are. We're a village that takes care of each other, and that's pretty awesome. So I truly appreciate that. I would also like to recognize Catherine Olander. Y'all may not know her, but she is the art teacher at West Carteret, and she is the poster artist for the North Carolina Seafood Festival this year. And the North Carolina Seafood Festival is the second largest festival in the state of North Carolina, and this is a big deal. This is along the lines of Jack Saylor, you know, kind of poster artist. So it's to me, it's really cool that our art teacher, West Carteret art teacher, is the poster artist for the Seafood Festival. Great person, Catherine Olander. If you've never met her, take the time to go meet her, because she is just a kind person and does a fantastic job with her kids. So I just want to congratulate her on that. And I have one more thing, which y'all got me so excited about. East Carteret. I have known Todd Morgan a long time, and you know, I follow him on Facebook. I'm sorry. I know, but you know what? He's inspiring. But not only is Todd Morgan inspiring, all of East Carteret. What y'all do, the way y'all come together, you're part of the village. I mean, I love East Carteret. You know, what y'all do for the Ocracoke kids, I mean, that's just phenomenal. And I truly appreciate y'all. I know I spend a lot of time at West and more at Middle because of my kids, but y'all really pull it together, and y'all are, the love you have for each other is just, it's amazing, and I truly appreciate that. So that's it.
So I want to echo what everybody else says. But I do think, let's give everybody a round of applause.
Yeah.
I'm proud to say that I have children in Carteret County schools, and I think everybody does a fabulous job. So thank y'all. You wear many hats.
And yeah, they never leave anything for me. You're but Sue, for the program you're doing, thank you. And Allison, your enthusiasm, awesome. Blair, we'll get you some pom-poms if you're going to be following Allison in the future or something. And Miss Olander, yes, that is awesome. She's a wonderful artist, and so that's great. I do want to welcome Miss Trogdon again, and I had the pleasure of meeting Ms. Trogdon here just here recently. I also wanted to thank our public speakers tonight, Ms. Statler and also Ms. Montford, and I want you to let know that we hear you, and we will take what you've said to heart, and that we appreciate it. So, and with that, we will now consider whether to go into closed session for a confidential personnel matter, attorney-client communications, and also a confidential student matter. So, do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So
I have a motion and a second. Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor? Okay, we're going to go to closed session. The public session is now closed. Thank you for coming.
Thank y'all.
We will not be coming back.